Hello, I'm Callum Stack, and today we're talking about the principles of editing. Editing is a vital part of video making as it is the tool that helps to tell the story we want to tell. The purpose of editing is allowing the film to flow so that the audience can be captivated by what they see on the screen. With editing, it allows the film to have a narrative of time with the use of pace, narrative structure, and camera angles. It is also a very collaborative element, especially in terms of films, as the director will often work with the editor to make sure the story flows the right way. The editor brings together all of the footage and sounds together in order to create the film/video product that the director wants. They also have to determine what takes/shots work best and can be used to transition to other scenes. Editing has had a long evolution dating all the way back to 1895, where the Lumiere brothers invented cinematograph, which was a 3-in-1 device that recorded, captured, and projected motion picture. This would continue to evolve as in 1901 Edwin S. Porter showed that film didn't have to be one long take, with his films like Life of an American Fireman released in 1903, which told a different story unrelated to what the footage originally was meant to portray. Then, in 1908, D.W. Griffiths released his film For Love of Gold, that featured the first ever continuity cut when a scene cuts. Griffiths has been given credit for the narrative of film and the discovery of the close-up. He would continue to innovate and establish the main principles of editing, camera techniques like panoramic long shots, iris effects, still shots, cross-cutting, and the use of sound. As editing has evolved over time, so have the different types of editing, that being analog editing and digital editing. Analog editing was used way before we could edit on a computer. This method of editing was when a film negative was completed, it would be cut down and pasted into an order. It would then go through a machine called a Movolia, or a key AEM. This method was used for a long while to edit movies where the editors had to be careful and precise about which parts of the film to cut. However, with digital editing, it has become more efficient and easier to edit a film by using different programs like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro. All of the footage as well as audio is put onto a timeline on the program and is then cut and pasted into an order. You can also add effects to the footage and change the quality of it with these programs. There are many different steps that you have to follow in order to better understand how to edit a film. For action scenes, it is important for the viewers watching to get a good view of the action taking place on screen so they can understand what is happening, as well as who exactly we are supposed to follow in the scene. For example, from the film Kingsman: The Secret Service, where the character of Harry is fighting against a group of racists in a church. This entire sequence follows the action from Harry's perspective, showing us his view of the fight, therefore bringing us along for the ride. This scene may seem like all in one shot, but in actuality there are moments in the sequence where the editor hides this, with shots like here with guns shooting these people, or when it hits the camera. When editing a movie or show, it is vital to have a lot of varied shots, or to not keep on certain shots for too long. Otherwise, the audience will get bored with the same shots over and over. During a simple scene like Inception, as you can see here, there are multiple shots used during this simple sequence of Leonardo DiCaprio's character waking up from his dream and looking around him. Editing can also bring together certain shots into a sequence, which can either be used for a simple montage to show a passage of time or to tell a part of a story. For example, with this scene in Hot Fuzz, we get numerous shots of the main character Nicholas Angel getting on the train towards Sanford. This entire sequence of events is told through just simple shots, like a shot of the taxi light going on when he's leaving the police station, it going off when he's arrived at his location, constant shots of his mobile phone showing the time, Nicholas's lifeless expression on the train, and him arriving at the place in the same manner as he did when he left the station and was on the train. It is also important to create a pace in the film, as a way to keep the audience invested in a certain scene. You don't always have to use every single shot of one sequence. You can cut it down, as if you make something like an action scene too long, it will get boring if the scene is not constantly changing. For those types of scenes, it is important to get that across, but for some scenes that focus on character, it's good to slow it down. There always has to be a balance.
I know why you're afraid to go out at night.
During the editing process, there are many different ways of editing techniques and conventions that many editors apply to the films they work on. When editing a movie, it is important to be careful about the continuity of the piece and that each shot lines up with the rest and not include anything that will contradict anything in the previous shot, like times or dates. One seamless example of this is in Back to the Future, where Doc Brown is trying to get Marty back to his own time. As you can see, the clock and the timer on the DeLorean is timed exactly right with the runtime of the scene, in order to get across the sense of urgency as the timer is constantly showing. The 180 rule is vital when editing as well as shooting in film, as the rule states the camera should remain the same side of an imaginary line that is drawn perpendicular to the camera's viewpoint in the establishing shot, for something like a conversation scene. When doing this, two people should always be on the same side of frame in each shot. When crossing the line, it makes it look like the actor is looking in the opposite direction, which can confuse the audience watching. There are ways around this rule, though, that can be used to great effect, like in The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, where the effect created is that of a shot-reverse shot. Speaking of which, as mentioned, shot-reverse shot is where one character is shown looking at another character off screen, where the other character is looking back at the first character.
No, it's true.
With them facing each other in opposite directions, the audience will assume that they are looking at each other in the scene. This would tie in with the 180 rule in order to retain continuity by not distorting the audience's sense of location of the characters in the shot. Parallel editing is where you cut between two or more separate scenes that occur at the same time during the story, meaning all the different storylines are unfolding in parallel. They usually don't come together, but sometimes they do, like with the famous scene from The Godfather, where the christening of Connie's baby occurs at the same time as Connie's rival dons are eliminated by his enforcers. Although they are completely different circumstances, the way it is edited ties into Connie's ruefulness and create a great juxtaposition between the christening of a new life and the bloody deaths of old. POVs are used as a way to get more into the character's view of the situation, or can also have a unique view from the perspective of an object. This is sometimes done to add a bit of suspense to the scene. A good example of this is in both of Tarantino's films Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, where the characters open up the bunk of a truck and it is seen from the victim's perspective, creating a sense of superiority to the ones opening the truck and can make the victim, as well as the viewer, helpless. Jump cutting is the transition between two shots which appear to jump forward in time. Much like a montage, this is a way to show how time passes, but it's done in a more quick and efficient way. It is sometimes done to show how a character feels at a certain moment, like this scene here from Little Shop of Horrors, or even doing something as simple as cutting hair, like from Royal Tenenbaums. Motivated montages are used to edit together various scenes that can be used for a montage, often with either a famous song or from the score. These montages are a quick way to show the actions that the character or characters are performing. A good example of this is with the first Rocky film, where Rocky begins to train for the big fight. The montage is filled with scenes of him running around on the streets, punching the punch bag, and doing press-ups, all to the score of the film. This scene is impactful as we do see Rocky messing up in some parts, but by the end he is improved and is ready to fight. All of these conventions and techniques are vital in learning how to become an efficient editor. Hopefully with these, you can become a professional editor in the industry.